Hello, I'm Sensei Alex Kakuya. Thank you for joining me for this evening's meditation and sutra study. This evening's practice will consist of a 15-minute guided meditation, a reading from the Brahmasnet Sutra, followed by a Dharma talk. The title of this evening's talk is Letting Go of Society's Expectations. Before we get into that, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. So, we will begin, as we always do on Wednesdays, with the guided meditation. I'll give you a moment to get into position. The only rule for the meditation is we need to be in a position that we can hold without moving for about 15 minutes. And if we choose to lay down, that's fine, but please don't fall asleep. If you'd like some instruction, we can start with a straight back, chin slightly tucked. We take our left hand, place it palm up in our lap. Right hand, palm up on top of the left. And we begin very simply by breathing in and out through the nose. We can have our eyes closed if we like, but if we prefer to have them open, that's fine. Just keep them pointed downwards at a 45-degree angle to eliminate visual distractions. And as we breathe in and out through our nose, we send signals to our body, engaging our parasympathetic portion of the nervous system, causing us to feel relaxed and calm, reminding ourselves that it's okay to do nothing for a while. And as we breathe on every inhale, we poke out our belly button slightly, like we just had a large meal. And on every exhale, we just relax. If we're wondering what to do with our minds, we simply focus on the physical sensations of our breathing. The feeling of air going in and out of our lungs. The expansion and contraction of our chest. The feeling of our belly button going in and out. And as we focus on these physical sensations, if our mind wanders, that's fine. We simply say hello to our thoughts and bring our focus back to the breath. We'll do this for about a minute. I'll keep time. Excellent. Keep breathing. And as we breathe, we'll begin the visualization point, our portion of our meditation. Visualizing a fire in our belly, in the space behind our belly button. The fire is whatever our favorite color is. If we like blue, the fire is blue. If we like orange, the fire is orange. With every inhale, we bring air in through our nose. With every exhale, we breathe out through our nose and visualize ourselves blowing on the fire just like we would a campfire in the woods, making it bigger and brighter with every breath. This fire represents our enlightenment. And we're just going to breathe for about a minute. I'll keep time. Building up the spiritual power, the enlightening power in our belly. Great work. And as we continue to breathe, in and out through the nose, allowing feelings of calm and relaxation to move through our bodies. We'll visualize a channel of energy going down from our belly, down, 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 to the center of the earth. And once we get there, we find an energy that's identical to our own. If our energy is green, the earth's energy is green. If our energy is purple, the earth's energy is purple. And slowly we begin drawing this energy up into ourselves. With every inhale, we pull energy up, up, up from the earth to our belly. With every exhale, we blow on that fire, amplifying it. So we have the fire burning in our belly. With every inhale, we add to that fire by pulling energy up from the earth. With every exhale, we blow on that fire again, making it bigger and brighter, just like a campfire in the woods. We'll do this for about a minute. We'll just breathe. And if our mind wanders, that's okay. We simply say hello to our thoughts and bring our focus back to the visualization, into our breathing. Wonderful. Everyone is sitting so quietly and so still. There's a powerful, powerful energy this evening. Now we're going to add to that energy by bringing a second channel of energy into our practice, going up from our belly, up, 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 past our solar plexus, past our throat, up to the top of our heads. So there's one channel of energy going from our belly down into the earth. Another channel going from our belly up to the top of our head. With every inhale, we visualize energy coming up from the earth, stopping in our belly. And with every exhale, we breathe out of our nose, pushing that energy up, 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 out of the top of our heads until it explodes like a volcano, showering us in healing spiritual light. We breathe in, energy comes up from the earth. We breathe out, it goes up out of the top of our heads, covering us in healing spiritual power. And we'll just sit like this. We'll just breathe for about 2 minutes. I'll keep time. No need to worry about that. Covering ourselves in the power of our enlightenment. Excellent. And now, as we begin to bring our meditation to a close, perhaps you make a silent bow to the earth, thanking her for assisting us in our practice, just like she did for Buddha 2,600 years ago. And then slowly, gently, we start to cut off the channel of energy to the top of our heads until the energy barely reaches our nose, in our throat, in our solar plexus, until finally it's resting right where it began in our belly. And then we close the energy channel going down to the center of the earth, slowly pulling it up into ourselves. We take a moment to notice that this energy, the earth's energy and our own, is always there. And we can always call upon it if we need to. But now it's time to come back into our bodies, so we move our heads to the left and then to the right, back and forth, slowly and gently. And we come back to center and roll our shoulders forward. And back. Feeling the physical sensations. Until finally they hang gently towards the floor. Then when we're ready, if our eyes are closed, we open them. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. Thank you for doing that with me. Now we'll move into the reading from the Brahmanet Sutra. I'll be reading from the BDK English Tripitaka translation. It's not necessary to have a copy of the sutra, but it's helpful if you'd like to follow along. And the reading begins on page 17. The 10 adamantine mental states. 1. The mental state of faith. Vairochana Buddha said, "1,000 Buddhas, listen well. You previously said that the adamantine seed has 10 mental states. My disciples, as for faith, all practices take faith as their point of departure. It is the root of myriad virtues. It does not give rise to the mental states of the mistaken views of non-Buddhists in the state of faith. All views are called attachments, and in the state of faith, one definitely does not undergo the production of karma that binds one to existence. Thus, you enter into the emptiness of unconditioned phenomena. The 3 marks are non-existent. There is no non-arising. Non-arising is non-existence. Abiding and abode do not exist. Extinction and extinguished do not exist, because there is such a thing as the emptiness of all dharmas. There is cognition based on conventional truth and ultimate truth. Total extinction is different from emptiness. Form is empty. Each of the subtle aspects of mind, i.e., the other 4 aggregates, are empty. Since the subtle aspects of mind imply the emptiness of mind, in each instance of faith, they are extinguished, bereft of essence, and merged together, and they are also without basis. Nonetheless, while the subject is called self and person, the nominal selves of the 3 realms do not appropriate the marks of combination, hence it is called markless faith. 2. The mental state of mindfulness. My disciples, pay attention to the 6 kinds of mindfulness, from constant awareness up to constant bestowing, and the ultimate truth of emptiness, which has neither attachment nor liberation. The marks of arising, abiding, and extinction do not start, do not arrive, nor do they go or come, yet, If all those who undergo the effects of karma turn away from the habit of reification and enter the cognition of the Dharma realm, then wisdom multiplies, and as it multiplies, it disappears. Each blaze is impermanent, each illumination nothing, each production unarisen. Change is the path of emptiness, altering the form and turning into the latter. Changing, turning, transforming, turning, changing simultaneously in the same abode. All blazes have a single mark. Arising and cessation are simultaneous. Already changed, not yet changed. Changing, transforming, yet incurring one reception of karma is also like this. 3. The profound mental state. My disciples, the profound mental state refers to the cardinal principle of emptiness. In the accurate cognition of the emptiness of dharmas, you illuminate true existence. The continuation of the course of karma in the middle way of cause and effect is called real truth. The nominal designation of dharmas as subjective self and person is called conventional truth. Within these two truths of existence, one enters ever more deeply into emptiness. Yet without going or coming, one illusorily experiences karmic effects, yet nothing is undergone. Therefore, one experiences extremely profound mental liberation. 4. The mental state of penetrating illumination. My disciples, those who penetratingly illuminate the truth, patiently accord with all real natures. Each nature is without binding, without liberation, and without obstruction. The Dharma penetrates the meaning, penetrates the words, penetrate, and the teachings penetrates. The causes and effects of the three times and the capacities and practices of sentient beings are empty. Thus, they are neither united nor dispersed. They have no true function, no provisional function, no nominal function. Every kind of function is totally empty. Emptied of emptiness, one penetratingly illuminates emptiness, and this is called penetrating the emptiness of all dharmas. Since each is empty and simply thus, their marks are unobtainable. The direct mental state. 5. My disciples. Direct means direct illumination. The soul that is gathered from conditions enters into the condition of non-arising. The ignorant souls are each empty of emptiness. The mind of the principle of emptiness, within emptiness, resides in existence, and resides in non-existence, yet it does not damage the seeds of the way. The uncontaminated middle way has just one contemplation, yet it teaches and transforms all sentient beings in the 10 directions, transmitting to them all the full knowledge of the direct, true nature of emptiness. Directly practicing the contemplation of emptiness, those who abide in the 3 realms are conjoined to cyclic existence, but are not subject to it. 6. The mental state of non-retrogression. My disciples, in the mental state of non-retrogression, you do not enter into any worldly stages, and do not give rise to and nurture new views. Neither do you also not habituate the causes of the semblances of self and personhood. Entering into the activities of the 3 realms, you cultivate the stage of emptiness without falling back, and are liberated within the supreme mental middle way. Since your practices are unified with the supreme middle way, you do not retrogress in your practice. Since the original essence of all things is non-dual, you do not retrogress in your mindfulness. The cognition produced from the contemplation of production from emptiness continues just as it is, and the intensified mind enters into non-duality. In the mind produced from emptiness with one path and one purity, You never retrogress from the one path and the one illumination. 7. The mental state of the great vehicle. My disciples, holding exclusively to the mind of the great vehicle means that because of the double understanding of the single emptiness, all mental states of practice are called the one vehicle. Based in the wisdom of the one emptiness, the wisdom vehicle and the practice vehicle carry this wisdom with every thought and adaptively respond to it. They carry and adaptively respond to all sentient beings, ferrying them across the river of the three realms, across the river of bondage, across the river of arising and ceasing. The travelers are transported by the vehicle, and the wisdom mind that functions to bear and accept enters into the Buddha sea. Therefore, all sentient beings who have not yet attained acceptance of the wisdom of emptiness are not called practitioners of the great vehicle. They are merely said to be in the sea of suffering, over which the vehicle is able to cross. 8. The markless mental state. My disciples, the markless mental state is that in which you are liberated through forgetting the marks and eliminating the non-duality of the perfection of wisdom. All bonds, karma, and the dharmas of the three times are simply thus in the one truth. Yet one practices within the emptiness of non-arising. When you know for yourself the attainment of Buddhahood, you can then say that all Buddhas are the same as oneself. All worthies and sages are engaged in the same discipline as oneself. All are the same in the emptiness of non-arising. So it is called the markless mental state. My disciples, wisdom of thusness. This is 9, the mental state of wisdom. Means that in innumerable Dharma realms there is no arising, no undergoing of birth. You continuously produce afflictions, but are not bound by them. All the teachings, all the paths followed by the worthies, all the dharmas contemplated by the holy ones, all of these are also just like this. All of the Buddha's skillful teaching methods are gathered in one's own mind. All the theories of non-Buddhists, the functions of mistaken meditation, illusory and mistaken explanations, the Buddha calls all these discriminations. Entering into the basis of the two truths, they are neither one nor two, and there are no aggregates, elements of cognitive activity or perceptual fields. This wisdom radiates brightly, and its bright radiance enters into all dharmas. 10. The indestructible mental state. My disciples, the stage of the indestructible mind is the entry into the wisdom of the grounds of the holy ones, and the approach to the stage of liberation. However, on attaining the correct entry to the way, you illuminate the Bodhi mind, bodhicitta, and the patient forbearance that accords with emptiness and cannot be damaged by the 8 maras. When the sages lay their hands upon your head and you have received the Buddha's empowerment, you enter the peak samadhi. Your body emits beams of light that illuminate the Buddha lands in the 10 directions. Entering into the Buddha's deportment and spirit, you come and go in and out of this world, freely quaking in a billion worlds. It is neither different nor distinguished from the mind at the ground of equality. But this is not yet the path of the wisdom of the middle way. Based on the power of samadhi, illuminating within, you see the Buddha's innumerable lands, which manifest as sermons. At that time, you attain the peak samadhi and ascend to the ground of empty equality. The practice of total retention, the completion of the holy practices. In each thought, you contemplate emptiness. And since there is elimination of marklessness in the middle way, of the wisdom of the 2 kinds of emptiness, all marks are extinguished. You gain access to the adamantine samadhi and enter the gate of all practices, which is entering into the stage of equality in emptiness. This is all explained in detail in the Buddha Flower Sutra. So when I think about the 10 adamantine states as they're laid out in the Brahmasnet Sutra, I often think about society and the expectations that are placed upon us by society. And this is important for us to contemplate because our society as it exists today is insane. It is completely illogical in many ways, and it is damaging to us, to our families, to the environments. In Buddhism, we have something called the three poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance. And these are the causes, the roots of all suffering. Every bad thing that happens in the world can be traced to one of these things: greed, anger, or ignorance, or some combination of them. That said, we live in a society that celebrates and encourages greed, anger, and ignorance. There are entire websites devoted to helping people cheat on their spouses. There are major publications writing op-eds about how infidelity can be an empowering and enlivening practice, completely ignoring the harm that is done when a partner is unfaithful to their spouse or to their significant other. We actively work to destroy our planet every day, poisoning the water, polluting the air, driving wildlife to extinction through habitat destruction. And we do this with the full knowledge that this is the only planet we have. Once the Earth is gone, there's nowhere else for us to go, but that doesn't stop us. Now, it's important to note that Buddha warned us about all of this. The first noble truth of Buddhism states life is suffering. The Fire Sermon says much the same, that everything we take in through our senses is burning. Burning with greed, with anger, with ignorance, with despair, with sadness, with distress. And it's burning with these things because the phenomenal world is ever-changing. And because it's ever-changing, we try to hold on to things. And in our holding on, we develop greed. In our losing of the things we try to hold on to, we develop anger. And in our attempts to make the world permanent, even though it's not, we develop ignorance. So we live in a phenomenal world that tries to pretend that it's permanent, and as a result, we all suffer as a result. Now, in spite of all this, the solution to the problem isn't as simple as, well, I'll just leave the world behind. The reason for that is we live in this phenomenal world. We have Buddha bodies. We also have conventional bodies, physical bodies. Bodies that need to eat, that need to sleep, that need to work jobs and earn income, these bodies need homes to reside in. So even though we recognize and understand that society at large is poisonous, we have to learn to live and work within society. We have to live in the world and yet not be of the world. Because if we do what society wants us to do, if we take refuge in impermanent things, in societal things, we'll get pleasure. There's a lot of pleasure that comes from greed, anger, and ignorance. That's why it's so hard to let go of. But that pleasure is impermanent. It never lasts. And what it leaves us with is a pleasure without peace. We have good feelings, but we also have an existential dread because we have nothing solid to hold on to. And this is something that we are all heir to because we, again, live in society. And society is always giving us these messages of who we are, what's our value. And if we take refuge in society, we never measure up. That's where the existential dread comes from. Before I started practicing Buddhism, I, like everyone else, took refuge in society. Meaning I lived in society and I developed my feeling of self-worth from society's validation. And I worked very hard to get that validation. And by most measures, I was successful. I have a college degree, I'm a military veteran, I spent a long time working in the corporate space, earning money. But the validation we get from society comes with an asterisk. Sort of, what have you done for me lately? Yeah, you look very nice, very professional in your suit and tie, that's cool, but this other person looks even better. They spent more money on their suit, and it's custom. Yes, you gain a lot of pleasure, and we're all very impressed by your car, your Camaro, let's say, your Ford Mustang, but that's a 2015, and my friend over here has a brand new Ford Mustang from 2021. So we have that initial pleasure that comes from having the fast car. And then we have the existential dread that comes from knowing that other people have a nicer car than I do. We have the temporary pleasure that comes from earning money, and we have the existential dread that comes from knowing that other people have more money than I do. And I have to spend my money, which means I have to make more, and what if I don't make enough? So we get on this constant treadmill. This dread forms. So how do we practice this middle way? How do we live in the world without being of the world? How do we survive in society and let go of society's expectations? Well, it all starts with knowledge of self. If we understand who we are, it doesn't matter what other people think. And this is important because if we don't know who we are, the world will tell us who we are, and it will tell us who we're not. So if I have no knowledge of myself and my happiness is based on my cars and my clothes, then the world will constantly tell me that my cars and my clothes aren't good enough. And then I have no peace, I have no contentment because I'm always chasing the next big thing. On the flip side, though, if we go to the other extreme from hedonism to asceticism, which the Buddha did, for many years he wore no clothes, he stopped bathing, he completely rejected the world. But then this becomes a competition, right? Because, well, other people are better at renunciation than we are. I only eat once a day. Well, that person only eats half a meal a day. The Buddha fell into this trap, got to the point where he was only eating 1 grain of rice a day because he was trying to be the best renunciant out of all the renunciants. And he gained no spiritual understanding from this. What did happen was he got so skinny that he could poke his belly button and feel his spine. He almost died as a result. He fell face down in the river, was too weak to move, only lived because a milkmaid named Sujata took pity on him, pulled him from the river, fed him, helped him regain his strength. Later on, he sat under the Bodhi tree, and the rest is history. So again, it's important we understand the middle way. We don't take our self-worth from the world, from society, but at the same time, we don't completely reject the world or reject society as well. As Buddhists, we work jobs, we earn money, we pay our bills just like everyone else. We just don't take our self-worth from it the same way that everyone else does. So if we don't take our self-worth from Buddha, or rather from the world, where do we take it from? Well, we follow the example of Buddha, who chose to live in the world on his own terms. Remember, Buddha was a prince. He won as far as the world was concerned. He has money, he had wealth, he lived in a palace. He walked away from all of that. And then after he realized enlightenment, he didn't go back to it. Instead, he chose to live in his own way. A middle path between renunciation and hedonism. He had 2 robes, he had 1 bowl. He lived through making alms rounds. As lay practitioners, what do? Well, we work a job, we pay our bills, but we abstain from the parts of society, the drugs, the alcohol, the infidelity that cause suffering for ourselves and others. What would your life be like if you stopped looking into the world for approval? Would it be more peaceful or less? And of course, this begs the question, if we are not what the world tells us we are, who are we? What are we? In Mahayana Buddhism, we are taught that we are Buddhas. That our true nature is enlightened. That we are worthy of kindness and respect and veneration, just like all Buddhas are. But it's not just us that are Buddhas. All beings are Buddhas. So yeah, other people may have more money than us. They may have nicer cars than us. Or maybe they have not as nice a car or no car at all. It doesn't matter. They're a Buddha and we're a Buddha. We are equal in that way. And because of that equality, that sameness that comes from emptiness, the understanding that all beings are Buddhas, there's no competition. There's nothing to be worried about. The adamantine mental states that the Brahma's Net Sutra comes from an understanding that the conventional world, while real, is also empty of permanent existence. In the absolute world, we are all Buddhas. We are all the same. So while we do what we do in the conventional world, we work, we pay bills, we talk to our friends, we go out with loved ones, we do it with the understanding that this isn't really who I am. This isn't where my self-worth comes from. My self-worth comes from the fact that I'm a Buddha. And the self-worth of other people comes from the fact that they are Buddhas. And this is important because we live in a society, a capitalist society, that our self-worth comes largely from our bank account. The amount of money that we have in a capitalist society decides what we deserve, what we can have. Frankly, it decides whether we're a good person or a bad person. There's this idea in our society that if you're poor, well, you must have done something to be poor. There must be some moral degeneracy that caused you to be that way. And thus you deserve anything that comes with that. And then if you're wealthy, well, obviously you have money, so you must have done something correct, something morally good, something proper. So if you're a rich person in a capitalist society, you are ipso facto a good person. And we see this in the way we treat wealthy people versus the way we treat the homeless. In the way we treat CEOs of company compared to the way we treat people who require public assistance. Buddhism doesn't do that. Yeah, some people have more money than others, but all people are Buddhas. So it doesn't matter if I'm a billionaire. I see the Buddha in other people and I treat them as Buddhas. I honor and venerate them. But in order to see the Buddha in other people, I first have to see the Buddha in myself. This is where calmness and equanimity come from in the Dharma practice. It comes not from some great supernatural understanding of the world, but simply a metaphysical understanding that we are all Buddhas, that we are all enlightened beings. Understanding of Buddhahood leads to non-attachment. It also leads to equanimity, because we're no longer looking for the world's approval. So if I see someone who's poor, who's hungry, who's needy, I'm no longer in competition with them. There's no longer that small part of my mind that thinks, oh good, I beat them at least. Instead, I see a Buddha who needs my help. And if I'm that person who's poor, who's hungry, who's needy, I no longer get down on myself and think, oh, I'm worthless because I don't have money or because I don't have clothes. Yes, I'm down and out, but I'm still a Buddha. Now, the question then becomes, how do we know we're Buddhas? And that's a good question. That's a fair one. First, we have to understand that this idea that all beings are Buddhas is a metaphysical claim. Metaphysics essentially is, according to the dictionary, this is the starting point of knowledge. A lot of us had our first run-in with metaphysics when we were children. Our parents tell us, eat your vegetables. Can't have dessert till you eat your vegetables. Why? Because you need them to be big and strong. Why? Because they have vitamins that your body needs. Why? Because I said so. The because I said so part, that's metaphysics. That's just, this is the stopping point that we base things on, right? If I ask you what color this robe is, you'll probably say it's blue. But why is it blue? Why is it not green or plant or tree? It's blue because we live in a society that says this color is blue. That's the only reason. It's a metaphysical claim. And there's nothing good or bad about metaphysics. We just have to examine them through something called epistemology. Epistemology is how we decide what's true and what's not true. So if metaphysics has to do with the starting point of knowledge, epistemology is how we decide what counts as knowledge and what's not. What metaphysical claims do we want to hold to and what do we not want to hold on to? So the claim, we are Buddha, is a metaphysical claim. I can't show you your Buddha nature. You can get a glimpse of it through practice, but I can't put it in your hand. So what's the epistemological question we ask in Buddhism to decide if we're Buddhas? Well, it doesn't actually just have to do with our Buddha nature. It has to do with everything in Buddhism. Because everything in Buddhism is supposed to be tested. We don't just believe things because the teacher said so. We believe things because they either relieve suffering or they don't relieve suffering. That's the epistemological question. Does this metaphysical claim remove suffering from my life and the life of others? If yes, that's something we hold on to. If not, that's something we let go of. We can do this with society as well. Society says that we should drink and do drugs and party. Does that create suffering in our lives, or does that create joy and peace and contentment in our lives? Is that a claim we want to hold on to? All beings are Buddha. Well, let's experiment with that. What happens if I treat my friends, my neighbors, my spouse, my coworkers as if they're Buddha? Does my life get better or worse? If our life gets better, well, what happens if we treat ourselves like Buddha? What happens if we make sure we have good food and a nice place to stay and that We take care of our physical bodies, which are the vehicles we use to realize enlightenment. And this is completely up to you. If you do this experiment and treating ourselves and others as if they're Buddha isn't better than living based on society standards, then don't do it. But if we find that this idea that all beings are Buddha, that we are Buddha, creates more peace, more equanimity in our life, and that's something that maybe we want to investigate further. Because if we take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, as opposed to taking refuge in society, at least what I've found, is that we find something that's lasting, something that's life-affirming, something that can hold us and keep us warm in the dark nights. If we let go of society's expectations and rather do our own thing because, well, I'm a Buddha and I trust my own inner wisdom, oftentimes that existential dread goes away because our happiness, our joy, our peace, our contentment is not based on the phenomenal world which is ever changing. It's based on the Buddha within. Amitabha. So that was the talk for today. I hope it was helpful. We'll end by just making a few announcements. So this was a meditation sutra study. It happens every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here at this channel. You can also join me on Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, also at this channel. We do Dharma Sunday, which is a little bit different. For that, I'll look at something from pop culture or society at large, and I'll give a Dharma talk on it. So it's a little bit less involved. Again, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future, and I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button as well. So until next time, Amitabha.